Let's pass down our state data as properties to our child components. We're going to use the app component to render ski-day-list and ski-day-count. So we need to import both of those from the components folder. So we're going to import ski-day-list from /ski-day-list, and then we'll import ski-day-count from its file. Excellent. The next thing I want to do is scroll down a little bit to our render method. Now the render method is currently rendering this JSX expression. We're going to replace this with the components that we'd like to render. The first one of these is ski-day-list, and the second one is, of course, ski-day-count. Now, the ski-day-list has a property of days. We've set this up before as this array of objects. Now that we're holding all of these ski days in state, we can pass down the state data to the ski day list as props. So we're going to set this equal to this dot state dot all ski days. Cool. We also want to set up our properties for ski day count, which are total, and we'll just set this equal to an empty set of curly braces. We will fill in that JSX expression in a bit. We're also going to set it up for powder and backcountry. Now I know that we have another property not represented here for goal, but we're going to use the hard-coded value for goal for now, since we're dealing with counting the number of ski days right now as these props. So speaking of counting days, how can we count the days from state and pass them down as props? Well, we can create a local method called countDays. So let's add count days to our create class component, and we'll separate that with a comma. And what we want to return here is this. We're going to say return this.state.allSkiDays.filter. So filter is just the ES5 filter function that we can use to deal with arrays. So what we're trying to filter are all of the powder days, all of the backcountry days, and then all of the total days. So we're going to pass in a callback function here to our filter method. And this callback function is going to take in a day. So for each day, as we loop through our array, we're going to do the following. So let me scroll over a little bit so all of that is on screen. There we go. So we're going to have an if statement here. It's going to check to see if the filter that is passed into count days on line 30. So if there is a filter of some sort, powder or backcountry day, we're going to return day filter. Otherwise, we're just going to return day. So this is going to filter based on the filter that I passed into the count days function. How do we get the number? We're going to just find the length. So we're going to dot notate dot length to the end of filter. Cool. So inside of our render method, we've set up powder, backcountry, and so on. So let's use these. We're going to say this dot count days for total. No filter will be passed in because we're trying to count everything. We then will use this dot count days. And I'm going to hit a line break here so that we can read the filter passed in, which is powder. Same goes for backcountry, this dot count days, lowercase c there. Now this dot count days in this case is going to take in what? Backcountry. So we're filtering those details so that we can count everything appropriately. Now let's check out our index file. We should be importing everything correctly. So once we check this out in our browser, if you have it running on localhost 3000, you should see both of our components being rendered. We have our list and we have our count. Pretty cool. So the final thing I want to do here inside of our app file is I want to refactor our count days to be a little bit shorter, a little easier to read. So we can use some ES6 syntax to facilitate this. And you totally don't have to do this. This is just a preference. So we're going to say all ski days equals this.state, meaning that I can remove this.state from line 32. Easier to read already. And then I'm going to use all ski days.filter. And here we can remove the function keyword. We can turn this into an arrow function that points to our if statement. We can then turn this into an inline if else. So let's move this onto its own line. We're going to filter that. If that is true, we're going to return day filter. If it's false, we're going to return day. So I can remove a whole lot of punctuation here. Yeah, this looks good. So let me take a look at this in the browser. We've reloaded it based on the dev server being set up and everything's working. This is a quick refactor we can do to the count days function to make it a little bit more readable. You can even pull it onto its own line if you'd like to. So again, not a requirement at all, but something that you can do if you'd like to.